Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ella Majors with Sexy Fit Vegan and the Plant Power Coaching Program. And today, on today's Facebook Live, we have Tammy with us. And Tammy is a program graduate, a relationship expert. She has a website and blog, marriedandnaked.com. And Tammy, did you say you just started a new blog for us as well?
I'm just launching one called Happy Vegan Wife. Yeah, that's like my new project.
That is so cool. Yeah. Is it launched? Is it already launched or?
It's out. Yeah, it's very little on there yet, but yep, it's out and running and ready to go.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
Love it. We won't have to cross promote our blogs.
Yes.
That'll be exciting. All right, well, cool. Well, today we are really talking about overcoming negative self-talk. And well, I asked Tammy, actually, for everyone watching, I asked Tammy if there was anything in particular, any particular topic that she'd like to talk about on this week's Facebook Live. And this was one of your top. You named a few, and this was one of your top on your list. And why was that, Tammy?
For me, the biggest shift that I've seen going through the program has been my ability to take control of those negative thoughts that coming into the program had really just taken over my life. So I thought coming into the program, I'm coming in, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds, like that's gonna make me happy. And what I quickly realized was that it was, I wasn't gonna find that happiness until I could figure out how to take control of this inner bully, or my husband calls it my inner shredder. until I could take control of that. And that's really the biggest shift I've seen over the last 6 months or so. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, we call it, I know Naomi used to call it the inner critic. That was her big thing. Yeah, I've never heard inner shredder.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very accurate. We got Stephanie on. Hi, lovely. She said, hi, lovelies.
Hi.
For those of you who don't know, our amazing Stephanie, she is our head mindset coach in the coaching program. We are so fortunate to have her. And I'm so glad to see you here, Stephanie. So yes. All right. So that's been one of your major successes, and it started to lead to other celebrations and successes. What do you feel like in your past has that inner shredder, what has that limited, how has that limited you or prevented you from just moving forward powerfully and really getting what you want out of life and getting what you want out of how you feel about life?
Yeah, well, I've always been somebody who, or at least over the last 10 years, been somebody who like pushes myself to try new things and step out of my comfort zone. So I've always been that kind of person, but what I found was I never had the ability to take in anything as like a win or a success or to feel pride in any way. So no matter what I did, I just didn't feel good about it. I always found a way to, like I said, he called it the inner shredders, because I would take some kind of success and I would just shred it apart, like, oh, but not this and this and this and this. And I just didn't know how to own anything as a win or positive outcome for myself. So even though I feel like I've always been able to strive forward, it held me back in being able to feel, happy and joyful and free, really.
Mm. Got it. And one of the things that you mentioned to me is, and one of the things we talk a lot about in the program is, how we talk to ourselves so often would be unheard of. Like we would never dream of talking to another human being like that.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that. Can you talk a little bit to that?
I think back to this moment a lot. It was a few years ago. I was in actually Florida on vacation. I was running out for a run in the morning, and there was some guys working on like a construction site. And I'm running and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what those guys would think of me. They probably think that I'm just, what is this person doing out here running? Or they would never find me attractive. I had all these thoughts. And for whatever reason, at that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, this is how I talk to myself. I don't know why at that moment it triggered, like I paid attention to what was going on in my head. And I couldn't believe how mean I had been to myself on that run. I came back and I was a little embarrassed, but I shared with my husband, I was like, I can't believe that this is how I talk to myself. No wonder I can't own any wins, or I can't feel good, or I can't feel free, is because this is what's dominating my life. And after that moment, I started paying more and more attention, and eventually it just got so loud. Those voices are so loud when you're paying attention to what's actually going on. And I remember somebody saying, talk to yourself as you would to your friend or your daughter. And I never had thought of that before. So that was kind of a shift for me, but I don't know why I always go back to that moment. It was kind of that trigger as to, okay, something needs to change. Yeah,
Stephanie said, oh yes, I have an inner critic, but I'm so onto her.
Yes.
I love how Stephanie says that. And we can't be onto her unless we know she exists.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? So I think that's what you were just saying. And we are so programmed, and a lot of the stuff we're learning about right now in our Game Changers program, which is our post plant and power coaching program option. And we talk about how programmed we are from such a young age, and how that goes into our subconscious and just rules how we think, how we act, what our outcomes are in our life. And until we are able to step outside of that, until we're able to realize and acknowledge that these are programs that are running, that's not who we are, those are programs. And who we are is outside that program, and who we are can change that program, but that's a process, because a program is a program for a reason, because it's automatic, and it allows us to, when we're 70, we still know how to walk, because we have a program that has, once we learn to walk, we get to just run on automatic and walk for the rest of our lives. We don't forget how to walk. But that goes as well for feelings of shame and fear and all the negative feelings that we have about ourselves. Those get worked into the program too, and they're on automatic too until we stop them, which is a process.
Yes.
It's a long process. It's a tough process, but it is a process worth going through. Absolutely. And that's one of the major things that we do in the Plant and Power coaching program, is work on that reprogramming. And I know for you, there was a moment or a coaching session with Stephanie, who's on, that really was a game changer for you. Can you tell us the story around that and what happened?
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know, maybe my second coaching call with Stephanie. I feel like every coaching call I've had has been a major shift. It's such a powerful part of the program to get somebody who can talk to you one-on-one and give you such an amazing outside perspective and tools. And this particular call, I don't know what we were talking about stuff. And I remember that shredder of mine had come out and was taking down all the things that Stephanie was trying to build up of me, saying the successes she saw. And I couldn't own it. I couldn't feel any of those. And she said that she felt like I needed to have like a ritualistic clean slate, I think is kind of how she said it. And she's like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this is what I want you to do. And she wanted me to write down all the negative, every single thought that I've had that runs through my brain, or words that I've carried with me since middle school, people that have hurt me, write them down. And I write them all down, and then she wanted me to burn them, literally burn them. And it took me a few days. I thought, okay, this is so silly. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But I finally got up like the courage to do it. And I went in my backyard. I got really kind of in the right headspace, and I took all those words, and one by one, I read the word out loud, and I replaced the word with something else, or I replaced the phrase with something else, and then I burned the old word or the old phrase or whatever it was, and or the feeling of not being enough. Those were kinds of things I was writing down. And for whatever reason, it was an absolute, I don't even know, it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. And I look back to that moment all the time as the moment where then I felt like, oh, now I can start my growth. Now I can start moving forward in my life. Now I can figure out how to find joy. I had to let all of that go. And I really did. And from then I felt so much lighter. I got up from that. I texted a picture to Stephanie, look at this word I burned. And it's changed my life. It really has.
Wow. Wow. And I know what you mean. And Stephanie says it all the time when she gives people these exercises to do. She says either like, you're going to think this is silly or you're going to hate this. But I want you to do it anyway. And the results are just so remarkable. The results from some of the stuff that she comes up with, really, individualized for each person, that depending on what you're really struggling with, what's really holding you back. And so when you talk about replacing the phrases, so there's the letting go of the old belief system, and then there's a replacing it, right? We have to replace it, which you were talking about. And that's kind of where, for me, that's where mantras and affirmations really come in. Is that along the lines of what you're talking about when you were talking about replacing?
Yeah, at the time I didn't know anything about like a mantra or an affirmation. I was just taking a mean word that somebody had said, or whatever it was, and just saying things like, well, that's not true, that's not the the life that you lead now, they have no power over you. That kind of thing was what I was saying, instead of I just carried so many things of how people had hurt me, and that's what that was. I hadn't really gotten to a place of a mantra and affirmation just yet. Yeah.
So you're kind of creating affirmations, not really knowing that that's what you were doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then if we want to talk about making that a kind of more of a formal tool for reprogramming, and I talked about this on yesterday's group call as well, really how powerful and why these are so powerful, because of the programming, and how consistent we need to be, and to know our triggers, and to be acknowledging when those triggers happen, and to have that mantra or affirmation ready for when those thoughts, those thoughts are going to come. They've been coming, when you go to the gym and you feel like you are the least fit one there, and you start to tell yourself all sorts of negative things, and to know that that's a trigger, and to know you're going to have those thoughts, and then to have the mantra affirmation that's going to be perfect for that situation ready in your mind.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And because that's what it takes. And this is what we do in the program, because it's not easy to do on your own. I mean, how many times have you guys watching, have you kind of said, okay, I'm going to say this to myself, and then in 2 days you've already forgotten that you were going to say that to yourself? Or I've even put sticky notes like on the bathroom mirror, and they kind of blend in after a while, and even though it's right there, you forget to say it. So having our group, I think the power of having the group that we're active in every single day to remind us, and to be able to support other people as they're supporting us, and just to have that sense of community, and really a family. I mean, we are a family in the program. It's phenomenal. Do you have any mantras or affirmations that you use consistently that you would want to share?
Well, I get I guess a little messy in my brain when it comes to what the difference is between an affirmation and a mantra. So they kind of blend together. But I had never really thought about the idea of a mantra until, of course, on one of my coaching calls, Stephanie's like, I think you need a mantra. So it's like, okay, I will try this. And I've used him a couple times. I just didn't understand what a mantra was. I just thought it's something people repeat the same thing over and over for their whole entire life, and maybe someday they'll reach whatever it is that they're, whatever they're saying. But for me, what a mantra has done is it's literally been able to stop the spiral. So I start to go down the spiral of negative thinking. And by having that, it puts a stop to it. And what I've learned for me is that I don't have to believe that mantra for it to work. I just have to have something that's going to stop me from going down the rabbit hole of negative talk. That's what it's done for me. And one of the ways that it's really helped me, and she helped me, was discovering to do that on my runs, because I started off at, I don't know, a mile and a half, huffing my way through, and my negative talk was just rampant. Like, what am I, crazy? I can't do this. You're nuts to do this. And it would just go down and down. And she wanted me to create one for myself that kind of went with my feet, went with my breathing. And I used it throughout whenever I noticed that hard part was coming. Those negative thoughts are coming. Okay, it's time. And I would just say it over and over and over and over, so that I didn't say the other words, really is what it worked for me. And it was really, really powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've used things like that a few different times, but I feel like that's one of the most powerful ways. The other way that another one that she had me do was when I was I know I'm jumping a little ahead, but we talked about being proactive in those thoughts, like you mentioned having those ready for when those situations come. And I went to Cancun last fall, and I had worked myself up. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to wear a bathing suit, and all I want to do is feel free and happy. And I don't want to feel ugly in this bathing suit in front of my husband. And she wanted me to take with me some words so that when those thoughts were coming, I could replace them. And those words were to see myself through my husband's eyes. And it was so powerful, because the way he sees me is nowhere near how I see me. He always just sees the good and the beauty. And so it was such a great perspective change for me. And I still use that all the time when I'm feeling insecure, like body image wise.
Yeah.
And it stops all that negative talk and gives me a more positive view. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think you made a really good point when you said, I don't have to believe it fully to say it. Well, we're not going to believe it fully for quite a while.
Right.
That's the whole point of it, is because what we believe is not serving us. And those beliefs are something that we have the power to change. And that's what the self-empowerment coaching system that we teach in the program is all about. It's about acknowledging, observing, and then changing those thoughts. And it's a process for changing them. I wish we could just say, oh, that's a thought that's not serving me, so now I'm going to have this one, and now I feel fantastic for the rest of my life.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But with the practice, you're right. We stop the program and put a pause in it and insert what we want to program, and it just takes time and practice. It's that simple.
Yes.
And I think one thing also that all of us is very difficult, but is so important in this process, is to be able to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And I think that's also something that you've talked about a lot, the power of vulnerability. Of course, we talk about Brené Brown's work, and what does that mean to you, and how has that contributed to overcoming your negative self-talk?
Well, I've learned so much about the power of vulnerability in marriage. So, that's what I focus on with my blog, and it's really based on my own experiences with my relationship. And I've learned so much about how powerful it can be when you can open yourself up, when you can go to the places that are scary and hard to talk about. When you can do that together, it really puts you in a place for growth and change. And you can't really do that until you can open up and do that. And really, it just taught me through that, learning to have somebody to share those thoughts with, having a group like our group to open up to is just such a powerful thing, because our minds are just crazy, right? They tell us these whole entire detailed stories that are so often that we believe to be true, but they really are not true. And one of the things you talk about, Brené Brown, that I love I've read all her books. I'm kind of obsessed with her. I love her so much. And one of the things she shares is a story about her and her husband. And when they have an argument or a discussion, they use the words, "the story I'm telling myself is." And that just clicked so well for me, because to say that out loud, all these thoughts that are going through your head, especially in an argument, but even just for yourself, to say out loud, the story I'm telling myself right now is that whatever it is, it's so powerful to say it out loud and have somebody who you can trust to say that to, who can tell you, wait a minute, that's not the real story. That's not the real story. And that's the power of the group. And just having it, it's not the group, and then it's somebody that you can trust, that you can say those things out loud to. It just gives an outside perspective, allows the ability to just shut all that story that you're telling yourself down and find the actual truth. What is the truth? After my run, I was just like, I had a hard time with my run. It was 13 miles. I'm running for almost 3 hours. My mind's going crazy. People are passing me by. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me? The constant work at having to tell myself the positive things. And then I got my results and I realized, man, I was at the back of the pack. Like I was not fast. And I kind of grabbed hold of my brain afterwards. And I started to go down, take away from what I had done. And I had to tell my husband, okay, I just have to tell you this because this is where my brain is. I have to get it out. And then he was able to say, what, are you crazy? That was never the point of what you were doing. The point was to cross the finish line. Look at what you just did. He said, don't you dare disrespect yourself that way. And I thought, okay, you're right. So it's just being vulnerable and saying the things that are hard to say, that are scary to say, that are maybe embarrassing to say. It just has such tremendous power.
Oh, wow. And right before you said that of the Brene Brown story, I was going to say that story because I love that too. And I use it all the time. And it really is true. We create our own realities with the stories that we tell. And we're so used to telling these destructive, negative, hurtful stories towards ourselves when we could be writing awesome, positive, respectful, joyful stories. And so we have that power. And one of the things, and give me 1 second here, I'm gonna just, not seeing comments. I'm gonna leave the watch party because I think that's screwing things up. Give me 1 sec. Yep. All right, now I screwed something else up.
Oh no.
We're not so good. Okay, now it's coming. All right, there we go. Yes, see, I was missing all the comments because I did. No. Yes, Jamie, if you're still here, hello, Jamie. Go, Jody Rhodes, Alyssa. Yay, okay. There we go. All right, never again will I do that watch party. Sorry, guys. Okay, so yeah, so I guess we're almost wrapping it up. What I was just about to say is concerning, we talk a lot about being in victim mode and getting out of victim mode. And something to just really understand is that we're victim because we don't know that we have the power to change.
Yes.
So once you know that you have the power, then if you still say, I refuse to do the work, then that can be considered being stuck in victim mode. But in my mind, the way I look at it is all the people that are moving through life truly believing that they're a victim to their circumstances and they have no power to change those circumstances, which is really depressing. That's really a sad thing. And that's what our message is all about, is making sure that people know that they have the power to change their lives, change their environment. By first, you have to change what's inside, because happiness is not based on the environment. Happiness is not coming when something great happens. Happiness is within us right now. There is no happiness in the future. happiness can only exist now.
Mhm.
And when we get ourselves in that place and really start to reprogram, then we start to morph our environments to match how we, the energy that we've created from the inside out.
Mhm.
And that's exciting. That's
Yeah.
powerful. And I think one of the biggest, one of the most amazing parts of this program is just that discovery of how much power we actually have.
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to wrap it up. Again, I apologize for everybody who commented, who we didn't see. You guys, if you're interested, if this stuff is resonating with you and you want to step into your power, you want to rewrite the story of your life moving forward, and that includes your health, includes how you eat, how you exercise, but most of all, your entire lifestyle and how you operate and move through the world. If that just gets you excited to think about, then I encourage you to book what I have is a free breakthrough session. It's completely free of charge. I am doing these myself right now. And what we do on this call, and it's a one-on-one call that we really explore what's going on, where you're struggling, what the root of your struggles are, where you want to get to, and if we can help you close that gap between where you are now and where you want to be. If we can get you there, I will, if I'm confident, then and only then will I invite you into the program and to tell you more about it and answer all your questions. If it's not the right fit, I'm going to tell you that too. So this is not a call about selling or pressure. This is about you. And we're going to talk a lot about you. And so we do need you to be ready to get vulnerable, to share, and to know that there's, as you can see from this space, from our Empowered Vegan Life group, it's a much bigger group. We have a very intimate group for our program. But you can see the kind of tone of our group, even with this group of almost 4,000 people. It's just compassionate, it's kind, it's powerful. So I will put the link to schedule that call. If you're still unsure, I also have a free master class, which is an extremely powerful class that's going to give you some tools over the course of an hour to really start to make some steps in the direction of an empowered vegan life. So I will put those in the show notes. Tammy, thank you so much. All the information you've given us and what you've been willing to share is so valuable. I really appreciate you coming on and being with me today.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.